Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Food with Mike. I'm Mike. I'm going to show you today how to make one of the easiest stocks or broths, whatever you want to call it, that I use to make all of my soups, all of my sauces that are not tomato based. And it's so easy, anybody can do it, even me. So, handful of ingredients is all you need for this. You need one whole chicken. I'm doubling my recipe today. So I'm using two of everything, but one chicken, one onion, normal sized onion, one carrot, one stalk of celery, and a tablespoon of salt. 3 quarts of water, and that's it. So let's get into this. It comes together very quickly, and it's very easy. So what I have here is a 2.5 to 3 pound chicken. This was probably a little bit closer to 3.5 pounds. No big deal. I'm going to use 2 of them. I have 6 quarts of water in here already. It's cold water, just tap water. I'm going to put them in here. I'm going to put these in first, and then we'll get into the veg. Just drop them straight into the water. Let me grab my other chicken over here. And I rinse these chickens to get anything off them that I don't want on them. Okay? Goes right into the water just like that. Wash my hands. Then I'm just going to rough cut all these veg and throw them in the pot. Nothing fancy on these cuts at all, okay? Very simple. Like I said, rough cuts. Toss it in. This stock is so flavorful. And also, I rinse my celery. If you ever take a stalk of celery and you look at the inside, it's full of dirt. Clean that off there. You don't want to eat dirt. Just rinse them. This stock is unbelievably flavorful. Now, to make a traditional stock, it goes for about 4 or 5 hours. This is going to only take about a little over an hour. You know, from the time that water heats up, it's only about an hour until it's ready. Hour, hour and a half at most. Again, I'm using 2 onions. I'm using 2 of everything because I'm doubling my recipe. And you can throw herbs in here if you want. I've got some thyme out in my garden I may put in here. If I do, it'll just be a couple sprigs. You don't have to. 2 teaspoons of salt. You'll see on my channel, I don't really measure a whole lot, but on things like this, when I want it to be consistent, and I need this stock to be consistent to make recipes the way I want them, I will measure. Turn this on to high. Let it come to a full boil, and then we're going to turn it off. Okay, so here we are now. It's about to come to a boil. You can see on the top, this foam starts to build up here. We want to take that off. We want to skim that off and throw that away. We don't want that in our stock. I'm going to show you a real easy way to get the fat off the top once it's all done and chilled down. You want to just take that top layer off, dispose of that. And like I said, once it comes to a full boil, I'll let it go for about a minute. And it's close now to that point. And then what I'll do is cover it and let it sit for 1 hour. Okay. And if you don't get all of it, it's not a big deal. You're going to strain it off at the end anyways. Okay, so now we're at a full boil. I'm going to let it go for another 10 or 15 seconds. And then I'm going to just turn the heat off, put a heavy cover on this thing so it's tightly sealed. You don't want anything with holes in it. You don't want it to be a pressure cooker. You just want it to kind of hold some heat in while this thing sits for that last hour. So I'm going to turn the heat off, throw the lid on, and leave it alone for an hour. Don't even touch it. I may even put a book on this to keep it down tight. We'll be right back. So I bought chickens that were a little bit bigger. If you've got a 2.5 to 3 pound chicken, it should be cooked at this point. They're cooked. I'm just going to let them go a few minutes more, and then I'm going to get everything chilled as quickly as possible. You don't want anything to sit in the time and temperature zone longer than it needs to be. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I have to cool down the broth and the chicken separately from each other while straining it. So I'll be right back in a few minutes, and I'll show you how that. Okay, so it's been in for a little over an hour. These chickens were a little bit bigger than the 2.5 to 3 pounds. I think these were closer to 4 each. So let them go a few minutes longer. Not a big deal. What you're looking for is just that the leg comes off real easy. And, it should just pull right off, and you can see it just came right off there. So what I do is I transfer this chicken over to a couple bowls. I want to get them cold. What I'll do with them is I'll take them out, throw them in a bowl, cover them with ice water, and then I'm going to strain this broth into a smaller pot. And I have a little trick to get them cold quicker. Drain all that water, all that stock out of there. Throw it in the pot, grab the other one. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the most tender chicken you'll ever eat. If you've ever made chicken noodle soup, that's basically what we just did, just without the noodles. Now I'm going to transfer this through a strainer into a smaller pot or bowl, whatever you want to use. I start by using a ladle, and then I'm going to, once I get it down there a little bit, I'll pick it up and transfer it over. You can pass this through cheesecloth to get all the little fine bits out of it. I really don't worry about that too much. Okay, so use that, and then I'll go to here. Pick it up and pour it in. Try not to get it all over yourself. So I've done that too. Okay. Now what I'm going to end up doing is cleaning this out, putting it back in here because this isn't a big enough pot for it. So I'm going to get that done, and then I'll come right back. Okay, so now I cleaned this out, tossed out the leftover vegetables that were in here. I'm going to ice this in a second. I'm going to put this back in here so I can properly cool it down. I'll show you a little trick that I do. Okay. This is an ice pack. Basically, it's a freezer bag filled with ice. It's a gallon bag. I don't fill it all the way. If you fill it all the way, it's going to expand and then go all over your freezer, and then you got ice everywhere. I'm going to put this in here to get it cold faster. And I've got a quart size one I'm going to use too. Because I want this to get cold as quick as possible. Let it sit here and do that. I'm going to add ice to my chickens and water to get them cold. Okay, so while this is cooling, I'm going to cool down the chicken as well with just some ice water. I want to get all this as cold as I can as quick as possible. And this chicken is what a lot of high-end restaurants will do to get tender chicken that they serve you. They'll poach the chicken ahead of time. It pretty much cooks it all the way through, and then what they'll do at the end is crisp it up in a pan. They'll sear it in a pan, finish it in the oven, and you're going to get juicy chicken every time. That's what the chicken breasts themselves, which tend to be very dry and tough a lot of times. This will prevent that from happening unless you overcook it in the next phase of cooking. So I'm going to give this a little time to cool down, and then I'll show you what I do with this. And I'll tell you one other step. You don't want to put anything in your refrigerator while it's hot, because that can ruin your refrigerator. It can make it do some weird stuff. I've had it happen on a commercial level where it just will ruin other things that are in your fridge. So you do not want to put hot stuff in your fridge. You at least want it to be room temperature when you put it in there. This will get it down to temp very fast. Okay, so I let it cool down to room temperature and I put it in the fridge for a couple of hours, let it solidify. I wanted this fat on top to get hard enough just to scrape off. You can see it there. If I don't get all the fat, I'm not worried about it because it's, it's flavor. Okay, so that's our finished product. We have a basic stock, and this will go into all of my soups if I make soups, any sauces that require chicken stock. I could do a full blown stock that takes 4 or 5 hours, but you need about 8 pounds, 6 to 8 pounds of chicken bones for every gallon of water. And I don't know anybody that just has that laying around. You'd have to really go out of your way to get that. Then you'll get a more gelatinous sauce stock out of it that really doesn't change that much as far as flavor. This has enough flavor in it to get the job done. Not to mention the way I cooked that chicken, and I separated the breasts and the legs. The breasts I'm going to hold off. I'm going to eat those tomorrow night for dinner. Just like I said, you can take those, dry them off real good, sear them in a pan, crisp up the skin, warm them up in the oven the rest of the way, and then you've got a juicy piece of chicken that's been slow poached for an hour. It'll be totally cooked through. It already is totally cooked through, but it won't lose the juiciness doing it this way. The legs, I shredded up. I'm going to make chicken salad out of that because my wife likes chicken salad. So nothing gets wasted in this dish, in this preparation for this stock. The chicken gets used. The stock will get used. And what I'm going to do with this stock is transfer it into containers, and then I'll put some of it into freezer bags. And like I said, don't overfill them. I do about halfway full with 2 quarts in the gallon bags, and what that does is let it expand without breaking the bag and getting all over your freezer. So trust me, I've done it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when new videos are coming out, and leave a comment. If you want me to cook something, let me know. I'm an open book. I'm willing to do anything. Even things I don't really know how to do, I like to try to cook them and see how they turn out. It could be something, foreign to me. I'll still try it. So have a good day. Thanks for stopping by.